Welcome to the recorded workshop session for the Marketing Management Distance module.
Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to the second workshop of the BBA Marketing Program. I hope the last material helped you and you found it much easier to use during your studies and as you were researching for your assignments. Today we are going to complete the remaining two chapters that we are supposed to cover for the program. The first one is the one that covers marketing segmentation, targeting, and positioning. What we have to understand from the onset is we have to understand, if you remember or recall what we spoke about the last time in terms of the module outcomes that we are supposed to cover. We said we have got 3 module outcomes. Again, in this unit, we are supposed to cover or go through all the 3 module outcomes. The second thing that you also have to understand and that I must emphasize, as I said the last time, before we go through any unit, we have to understand the objectives that we are supposed to cover. In this situation, we have got a number of objectives that we are supposed to cover. The first objective is, at the end of this session, everyone must be able to understand the concept of market segmentation. What we are saying is, everyone must be able to explain and to discuss and have a thorough understanding of what market segmentation is. The second objective is you must be able to indicate how marketers can segment their market. How do they go about to segment the market? The third objective is you must be able to highlight the prerequisites for effective market segmentation. You are also supposed to be able to explain what is meant by the term target marketing. So you have to understand what target marketing is. Okay. The next objective is you must be able to suggest factors that should be considered when selecting market targeting. What are the factors that you consider for you to be able to target and say, this is the territory, these are the publics we are going to target? The next one is you must be able to, at the end of this session, to explain the concept of product positioning. What is product positioning? This is very, very important. Again, you should be able to describe the positioning methods that marketers can pursue in practice. What are the methods that marketers can use within the market? The last one is that you should be able to provide practical examples of product positioning methods. Be able to work out the practical examples. What we are saying is, today we are going to learn of the concepts, the theories, and all the principles that we need to understand about market segmentation, market targeting, and market positioning. But we don't want to end there. We want to be able to go further. We want to be able to go further. The further we are supposed to go, we should be able to take that information and be able to apply it in real life. You guys come to school or you do modules, you learn new stuff. It is not only that you need to learn it to know it, but you should be able to learn it, know it, and then be able to apply it in real life, apply it in real work situations, apply it in all the things that you do in your life. The first thing that we are going to do after having now been clear of the objectives is to understand the introduction as we introduce what the market segmentation, targeting, and positioning entails. The first thing is we must be able to understand that rarely does a single product or marketing approach appeal to the needs and the wants of all what? Of all buyers. Never has it been seen that only one product or marketing approach suffices and can reach each and every what? Buyer and be able to meet their needs. And hence we are saying there are different approaches, different products, different marketing approaches that can be used to be so we can effectively and efficiently be able to what? To appeal to a different public, different buyers, different consumers, customers available within the market. Secondly, in an ideal situation, the marketer would respond with a custom-made product, a separate price, right? A price that only fits a particular product, and unique communication should be used to sell that particular product. And then you must also be able to find a unique method of distributing the product to make sure that it gets or it becomes readily available to the consumers who need to use it. And that we are saying that using those methods for every potential customer, it's not every customer who is able to access each and every method that is available. So you have to understand the target audience that you are dealing with and find out the type of method of communication that they normally use. So you can use those to reach them out. You are also supposed to be able to, in practice, understand that it will be expensive and demanding to do this, especially in a heterogeneous market, in a market where products are almost similar, they are almost the same. How do you differentiate? How do you separate these products? You are also supposed as marketers to realize that they cannot be all things to all people. It's not a common issue of one product fits all or one size fits all. They have to focus on satisfying specific customer needs and to concentrate on what they need to do best to remain competitive. Go back in time, in memory time. The first unit we spoke about that, and we said that it is important for us to be able to understand how to satisfy different customers. And we also must be able to concentrate on what they do best. Each and every organization has got a particular way of doing things. They know exactly how do they do it. They know their strength. They know their weaknesses. And they have to be able to use their strength and opportunities so that they are able to take advantage of what goes on within the market to their advantage. The first method that comes to mind is what is known as mass customization. Mass customization, from the word you can see that mass, we are dealing with a situation where we have to approach a huge group, a large group, or a large target audience, target market, large customers, and a large territory. Mass customization, meaning the products that we are going to come up with, the pricing structure we are going to come up with, the distribution method that we are going to come up with, and their positioning must be the one that is able to target a mass audience. We are saying that products, therefore, are to be tailored to the unique needs of that mass territory, mass audience, and that each buyer is viewed as a potentially unique segment. When you look at people within a community, you don't rate them to say their needs are the same, and at the same time, their disposable income also is exactly the same. You have to look at them differently and view them potentially as unique segments. Marketers need to determine which marketing strategy suits the needs and the budget of their organization. You must be able to understand that they can select the most effective way in which to target the maximum number of potential what? Of potential buyers. You must know who is who, which market you have to target. Market segmentation. When we look at market segmentation, let's start with this definition. Market segmentation is defined as the process of dividing a total market into segments or target market of market of consumers with common needs or characteristics, and selecting one or more segments to target with a distinct marketing mix. So you have to separate them into groups that are homogeneous, that are similar. You look at an audience and you group them into those with similar characteristics, similar needs, and they become a market what? Segment, unique, with the same needs, and hence you are able to satisfy them because you'll be dealing or talking about the same language about them. Secondly, therefore, you also need to ensure that continuity and growth, right, occurs. A business is independent, is dependent on, and among other things, customers and the satisfaction of their needs. This is the sole reason of a business. You want to be able to satisfy their needs after you have identified them. When you have identified them, your goal is to want to satisfy their needs, and then you know that when you satisfy them, they are happier people, they will continue to buy from you, and hence you end up being able to what? To satisfy your own needs, which are to be able to be profitable, to make a profit out of your business. What are the advantages of market segmentation? The first one is that it compels marketers to focus more accurately on customers' needs, achieving customer satisfaction. So when you put people into groups that are similar, it helps you to focus on their same needs, and it helps you to be able to satisfy those needs, since the resources that you are going to be using are resources that make it easier for you to be able to accomplish your target purpose. Secondly, you also need, it leads to the identification of excellent new marketing opportunities. Every time when you segment groups, you are able to understand them better and understand better their needs and their wants. It helps you to what? To actually open up other possibilities, other avenues where new opportunities can what? Can arise. You also need to be able to, it also helps you to provide you with guidelines for the development of separate marketing offerings, right, and marketing strategies for the various market segments. Hence, it helps you to be able to see the parameters you have to be working with and to be able to separate the different marketing offerings and marketing strategies that you are going to to use for the various marketing segments to achieve your goals. You also can help, it can help guide the proper allocation of marketing resources. You don't want to pour more resources on the wrong on the wrong target audience. People who might not necessarily require much more attention. They can read, they can do the things on their own. So it helps you to be able to guide you on how you are going to allocate your resources. There are also advantages and disadvantages in any situation. The disadvantages that actually accrue to market segmentation are that it can be costly because you need to actually look more closely at the target audience and then separate them into groups. This can be costly, and at the end of the day, it is also very much so time consuming. It is a process that requires a lot of thinking, a lot of time, a lot of other financial resources to make sure that it works. Why? Since you have to be able to separate the models, and market offerings have to be developed and marketed. You need to separate them and carry out a lot of work to make sure that that is done well. You also, be faced with limited market coverage. Why this is going to be achieved, only a limited area or market coverage is going to be achieved, since the market strategy will be directed at specific market segments only, right? So it will only allow you to concentrate on a smaller area, and you find that the time that you are going to be using, you are going to be actually concentrating on a very small area, and hence for you to go wider, more and more time is required, is needed. You will also find that excessive differentiation of the basic product may eventually lead to a proliferation model of variations, and finally to cannibalization. This happens when one product takes away one market share from another, and in most cases, or in actual fact, in all cases, the products that will be competing will be products that are actually from the same organization. So a company has two products that are on the same market, and they end up competing amongst themselves. An example would be, for example, let's look at the products under SAB Millers. Sorry, you can find that SAB Miller does produce and market Castle Lager and also Black Label. Now you will find that, within a particular market, these two products can end up competing, and hence under any situation when there is competition, one of the products of one of the areas will have to give in. So one of the other products will end up doing less well than the other, and that's what we are referring here as cannibalization. Products that are competing, and they are products of the same organization. These are products of the same organization. Let's now look at target marketing. What is target marketing? Target marketing is the process of deciding which segment or segments to pursue, and this is referred as target marketing. When you have to decide which segment that you have to follow, you have segmented the markets, you now know their uniqueness, and then when you now say, let's now target this one, that's the process of deciding. Now you are making a conscious decision to say which target market should we pursue. That is what is known as target marketing. Targeting deals with the process whereby a marketing mix, right, is tailored to fit some specific target customers. So you come up with a particular marketing mix which you actually tailor make so that it fits the specific target audience that you are dealing with. If you are in the marketing business, when you go to market a product in Soweto, there has to be a difference in the way you are going to take the same product and go and market it in a different area. For example, Sandton, an affluent territory. So you have to be able to tailor make your marketing mix in a way that it is going to make it much easier for you to use it or to fit within the specific target customers. Again, selecting potential target markets. For the effective targeting of market segments, segments must conform to the following 4 criteria. Every time when you want to make sure that you want to select the target markets, and if it has to be effective, you must be able to consider the 4 criteria. The first one is that it should be identifiable, or of such nature that they are easily identifiable. You must be able to find a way how to identify that area. For example, you can use what is commonly known as geographic. You know it, you identify it by its geographical region. They are situated in Sandton. That becomes an identifiable area. Secondly, you can also use the element of sufficiency, where you are saying now, they must be worthwhile. It must be worthwhile to market, you know, in a big way and sufficient way. When you go to that target market, there must be room that you are able to market yourself fully. You are able to take enough products. You are able to do it in a way that, I mean, there is enough room for growth, and you are able to market your process in a big way. It doesn't restrict you. It's open enough to be able to allow you to do whatever you want to do. Thirdly, you also have to consider the segment in terms of stability. How stable is that segment, right? Segment must be relatively stable in terms of demographic. The type of people that you find there, you know, the age, the gender, right? You also look at, the capability, their capacity in terms of their disposable income. You look at all those things. That is very important. Secondly, you also, under that stability, you also have to consider the psychographic factors. These are where you consider, I mean, what are the customers' needs? Do they increase? Do they decrease over time? So you also look at their thinking, their understanding, their lifestyles. What is their lifestyle? Does it increase over time? Does it improve? Or in actual fact, it actually deteriorates? That becomes very important. So you look at that stability of the demographic and psychographic, factors. Lastly, of the four factors, in terms of the criteria, you also look at the accessibility, right? It must be economically accessible. Don't go and choose an area where it is expensive for you to access. It is difficult to access. There are no, resources to do that. Poor technology, poor, resources that you can use. And at the end of the day, is it affordable? It ends up being so costly. And for you to be able now to afford the cost with the correct application of media, it becomes so difficult. There are certain products that you will find so difficult for you to be able to to use certain means. For example, a product, if you need to sell, for example, matches, are you going to use the television to market it? It can be very expensive, and you might find that maybe even the target audience that you're trying to reach out are not the ones that actually would commonly buy such products, neither do they listen to television. So you look at all those. How accessible is it? Are you also going to find it easy to be able to access radio, to be able to access television, the newspapers? Do they go to those areas in terms of what you are looking at? You then also need to consider 5 important evaluation criteria, right? The first one is that target market size and growth potential. You look at the target market, the market that you are targeting, the territory that you are targeting. What is its size? How big is it? Is there potential for growth, or it is already reached its maximum potential? That is important to consider. You also look at the at the attractiveness and potential profitability. How attractive it is. When you look at the attractiveness, you are looking at a situation where you are almost guaranteed of business. There is so much potential for your business to grow, for your sales to grow. And there's so much potential for you to make lots of money, to make a lot of profit. And that becomes very That becomes very important. Okay? That becomes very, very important. Okay? And then the next one, you then look at the resources and skills of the organization. As an organization, you first of all have to look yourself internally and look at the resources that are available to you. And you also look at your skills level. How qualified, how skilled are our employees? Are they able to tackle such a challenge in such an area? So you are looking internally as an organization, the resources that you have, the skills that you have. So when you go out to target a particular, you know that your back is covered. you have got enough of what you require as resources, as tools to achieve your desired goal. You also fourthly have to compare the what? Look at the compatibility with the organization's objectives. What you are trying to achieve, is it in line with your organizational objectives? Is that what has been put in black and white as a blueprint of what you need to achieve? That is very important. Lest you are going to concentrate on wanting to achieve certain things that are not within your what? Within your organizational objectives. And then lastly, of the 5 important evaluation criteria, you need to be able to look at the cost of reaching the target market. How expensive is it going to be for you to fully and effectively and efficiently reach the target audience that you might find that if it's going to be so costly because of whatever means that certain means of reaching out do not work in that particular area, that might be a sign that maybe for that moment it is not the rightful time to what? To try and put your resources for that. Why? You are almost doomed before you even take off. We also need to look at the approaches to target marketing, right? The first one is that undifferentiated what? Marketing. This is where the business chooses to ignore the differences in the market and pursues the total market with one basic market offering. So you are taking one particular product into the market and you are not differentiating the product within that market. You are saying whatever the target audience within that market, though they be different and unique, they will still all be happy with the same product. And hence you are not, segregating, you are not, segmenting, you are pushing the same product to all the customers within the what? Within the market. Secondly, differentiated marketing. Here now, the business elects to target 2 or more target markets. Instead of just going, towards one market, you choose, you segment them, and then you pick 2 or more that you are going to target. You then develop a unique marketing strategy for each of them. So for each market that you have segmented and created, you actually come up with a marketing strategy that would suit each of that market. Thirdly, there is what is known as concentrated marketing. Here, the business concentrates the market offering on one specific target market that can lead to greater expertise in production and in distribution and marketing communication. The more you concentrate in one area, you end up actually increasing your expertise. You end up being able to do certain things in a better way. Why? You have been doing the same thing over and over. The more you do it, the more you become experienced. And hence, you even perfect the way you do it. You even perfect your skills. And hence, it becomes much easier for you to be able to achieve whatever result that you desire. The fourth one is what is known as the niche segment. Now, when you look at the niche segment strategies uses behaviors that cannot be fully addressed with a concentrated strategy. As a result, there is an opportunity for a business to carve out a niche within a segment. You pick out a certain particular segment within the whole territory, which is more different. It is able to give you better results, better profits. So it becomes a niche, a unique segment, which you then concentrate on its own. And further customize the marketing effort on the group of customers in that niche. E.g., if you are selling cars, you cannot sell a Lamborghini the same way you would sell VW Polo. You have to understand, the needs of the people who normally buy a Lamborghini, and hence they become a niche market. You must be able to come up with specific strategies that are easier to use, that are able to reach such a group of people. You also look at what is commonly known, like we said in the past, mass customization. Now here, the point is that is the tailoring of products. You tailor products specifically for the type of customers within that market. And we are saying that these are special products for that unique audience, and they are unique needs of the customers. And you have to do it in a way that the product that you come up with is able to to be used, and you combine it with the advantages of a niche segment strategy while retaining the breadth opportunity available with differentiated marketing. So when you look at mass customization, this is like a concoction. This is like a what? A mixed bag. You are actually using the other strategies, you know, target strategies, and you are combining them into one. For example, within the mass customization, you have brought in the niche market segments. You also have brought in the differentiated what? Market segment. So you are bringing in different strategies and you use them at the same time within the same market audience. Okay? Product positioning. Product positioning refers to the creation of a specific image or perception of the product by consumers in a selected target market. There is normally confusion when people talk about what? Positioning. They tend to talk about a location. They tend to talk about, place, to say you need to be able to take the product to this place so that it is nearer the consumer or nearer the customers. Yes, it is correct in a way, but the actual meaning of product positioning, it refers to the creation of what? Specific image. You want to create an image that is particular, that is distinct. You want to try and transform, the perception of people of a particular product so that they get to understand or have a particular image of a product in a specific way for a specific selected target audience. Secondly, it is therefore the way in which consumers view competitive brands or types of products. You need to be able to understand that for new products, it means how the organization wants to compare the new item in terms of its predecessors. You are judging the new product against the other ones that you once had on the market. However, for both new and established products, a product position should be combined with its market segment in order to optimally integrate the marketing tool decisions. You need to be able to come up with an integrated approach so it becomes easier to put together effectively your marketing tool decisions, how you are going to use it within those different segment markets. The marketer will and must attempt to establish a preferable position for its product by means of marketing communication such as advertising. We know that when you go out to advertise, now you have to understand the specific segment that you are advertising. You have also to understand your position in terms of the product. What are the product features? What are the product attributes? What are the benefits that the consumer is able to get from using the product? That becomes much easier for you to be able to to market. It becomes easier for you to advertise. And hence, marketers must always be open-minded to understand that the way they do the things. There are also 8 stages of segmentation, targeting and positioning process, right? 8 stages that we find in terms of segmentation, targeting and positioning process. The first one is what is known as situation analysis. Before you do anything, you have to be able to identify the organization's current position. Where is currently the position of the organization, right? What are the organization's capabilities? What is its capacity? What are their objectives? What are their constraints? What are those things that they can do well? What are the difficulties that they face? You look at thoroughly at all, you know, the opportunities that exist within the organization, all the threats they are likely to face. What are their strengths and their weaknesses? And then that is also linked to the next what? To the next stage, which is market segmentation. When you now fully understand the situation of where the organization is, you are now able now to segment the market into segment targets or departments, territories, groups that would actually be easier for you to what? To target. Hence, market segmentation is now you are identifying what? The segmentation variables and segment the market. You are, secondly, again, you have to be able to develop profiles for each what? Segment to make sure that you come up with effective ways of doing it for each and every area. The next stage that you go through is the market targeting. You have to be able to what? To target a particular market. You have to be able to evaluate the potential and attractiveness of each segment. When you look at the different territories, different target groups, target audiences, be able to evaluate each and be able to see its potential, what it is capable of achieving or capable of producing. You also look at its attractiveness, what is able to come out of that segment, that at the end of the day, you can say it was worthwhile to pursue. Secondly, you also have to be able to select the target segments. When you have divided them, be able now to say, which one of these are we going to what? To select. You then go on linked to that is the product positioning. You need to be able to identify the positioning concept within each target market, target segment. You identify the positioning. What is the current image or perception of the consumers, the target market, target audience within that area? What image do they have of the product? What is their perception of the products that are there? Secondly, under product positioning, you also need to be able to select and develop the appropriate positioning concepts. Be able to select and develop so that it is able to match each and every product positioning. Whatever you come up with in terms of the ways you are going to achieve the goals of product positioning, be able also to develop, specific approaches that can fully suit or answer the area that you are dealing with, the positioning concept. Lastly, the last stage is in actual fact the marketing mix. This is where now you find the 8th stage, where you have to be able to develop the marketing mix. What are the different ways that you are going to use for you to be able to market effectively and efficiently the product that you have at hand? Okay, the next one is we now have to look at the different levels of market segmentation, right? Different levels of market segmentation. We have already looked at some of these names. So the first part is that you have to be able to look at mass marketing. What is mass marketing? We have seen that we have looked at mass customization. Mass marketing now here is you are mass marketing in a larger environment, a larger space, a larger territory. And within that territory, you are not really segmenting. You are using the same means, the same marketing mix, to explain your product. And in this case, you are just throwing arrows within a large space of area. And then in the process of marketing, one or two or some individuals would be actually hit. There is no one specifically targeted. Everyone is a potential customer. So you are hitting the whole market with using one ball. The second stage now, level, is what is known as the segment marketing, where now you specifically make a conscious decision to segment the areas, and then you come up with a specific marketing mix to market the product within that area. You also then have to look at what? To look at the niche marketing. We have already seen that term. It's a more of a superior, market segment, which is able to produce or to give you better profits, better results. And hence, because of its nature, because of those characteristics, you also need to target it in a specific way. Hence, it becomes a critical area to be looked more differently and closely, as it is able to produce, better fruits than the others. You then look at the macro marketing. When you look at macro, you will know the difference, and we know the opposite of macro is micro. When you look at a segment area from the internal, from inside, or a smaller portion, when you look at macro, you are looking at it from the what? The bigger picture. What happens within and what happens what outside. You are looking at it from a holistic point of view. You are looking at what happens inside and also outside. What are the bases for segmentation? What makes you say this is how we are going to segment? There are a number. We have already seen some. We spoke about demography. We spoke about psychographic. We spoke about geographical. Hence, when you look at the basis of segmentation, there are quite a number. The main ones that normally would stand are, for example, the first one, geographical segmentation. This is the oldest form of what? Of marketing segmentation. It includes dividing the total marketing into different geographical areas, such as countries or regions. So you know that South Africa as a country becomes a geographical area for a particular product. Hence you find that when you go around promoting, marketing a product like Kasolaga, you have to have an understanding that what is the perception, what is the image of Kasolaga in South Africa. You then look at Zimbabwe, Zambia, Mozambique as other different geographical countries or regions. That's geographical segmentation. Secondly, on geographical segmentation, you need to be able to understand the variations, such as the size of the city or town or population density and the climate, as they all play an important role in how you segment and market your different products. The second basis is demographic segmentation. Here it involves dividing the markets into gender, family size, family life cycle, the income, occupation, religion, race, and education. What is the disposable in terms of income of the people within that area? Obviously, if you look and you compare the disposable income level of people in Tembisa and people who are staying in Sandton, there is a difference. So it gives you a better understanding. It also gives you an understanding to say, what are the occupations of people staying in a particular area? What are their race? What is their religion? What is also their family structure and family life cycle? The third one is you have to be able to look at the cyclograph segmentation. Now, this goes beyond demographics as it examines how a person thinks. You are now going more closer to the behavior and also their mind frame. How does a person think? How does a person feel? And how does a person behave? Now, we have already seen in terms of consumer behavior that it is important to understand how people think, how people feel, and how people behave. Why? Because by understanding their personality, their lifestyle, values, and social classes, it becomes easier to target them and to give them the type of products that they want. Why? Because our reason, our bottom line is to make sure that we are able to understand the needs and the wants of our customers. The reason being that we want to be able to satisfy them. And that is very important. Behavioral segmentation is the fourth one. This involves purchase occasions. When does an individual buy certain products? Do they buy them regularly? Do they buy them on special occasions? Special occasions like on public holidays, during Easter, or do they buy them during Christmas? Do they buy them during Valentine's Day? So those special occasions. So you have to understand that. Secondly, you also have to understand that what are the benefits that are sought within that behavioral segmentation. You need to understand the benefits that people look up. When you see people drinking a lot of alcohol, what is the benefit why people are here? You need to understand that from a behavioral segmentation, as it helps you. Why? It will tell you now how are the benefits so prestigious, or is there speed in needing them, right? That is very important. You also look at the user status. When somebody uses a particular product, right, are they using them as a non-user? Is it somebody who just, gets an opportunity and then uses once in a while? Or there are people who use them regularly, and they have to, to understand that. Are they potential users? When you go to a particular market, there are certain products that might not be moving in a particular segment, but you have to look more closely and from a holistic point of view to say, is there any potential that there could be some users of this particular product in this area? Is there also the issue of what? Regular users. Are there people here who are regular users, who don't just use it once in a while, who they are regular, they use it all the time? You also look at the usage rate. What are the quantities of the usage of the product that they use? Are they heavy or medium or regular users, right? You look also at the loyalty status. Is it none, or is it medium? Is it strong? Is it absolute, right? You look also at the readiness stage. Are they aware of the product? Are they unaware? Are they informed? Are they interested in the product? You also look at the attitude to the product. How enthusiastic are they? Are they bringing in a positive mindset? Are they bringing in a negative mindset? Are they hostile even so to the particular product segment? Okay? What are the influences on product positioning? Now, when we talk of influences on product positioning, we are looking at one, brand positioning, right? Brand positioning. The first thing that we look at brand positioning is product range. How wide is the range of products, right? That helps us to be able to position the brand much closer to the target audience. You also look at the performance. How effective can the product perform? How can it be used? Performance, what can it do? How far can it go? That is very important. You look also at the prices, right? How expensive is it? Is it cheap? Is it expensive, right? It helps you to be able to position the brand better. You look at the distribution network. How easy or difficult is it to distribute the product? You look at the advertising and promotion. How expensive it is, how easy it is to promote, to advertise, to reach the potential customers. You look at the customer profiles. Who is who within that target market for them to be able to understand the brand position. You look at other contexts like word of mouth. How easy is it to be able to reach other people just basically using word of mouth? You look at customer experiences. What have they experienced before? Where have they been? How exposed are they? What have they experienced? You need to understand that. You also then look at the media. You look then at the media. Okay? Differentiation variables. You have to also look at the differentiation variables. These are in terms of product. When you look at the product, you are saying that what are the product features? How durable is it? How reliable is it? Is it possible to be able to repair it when it breaks down? What's its performance quality? So all those are important on a product, and that's what people want to know, for them to say that this product is different from the other product. You then also look at the services that can follow. Are they able to deliver to you on your doorsteps? Now, are there other customers? Okay. You also look at issues like training. Are they able to do follow-up training, that you buy a particular product, that they will come and train you on how to use the product? You look at things like repair. Is it possible that when the product breaks down, people are able to repair? You are able to find somebody who is able to repair it, or the same organization that is selling to you, that they can come in and repair it for you. Thirdly, you also look at the personnel. How competent are they? Obviously, no one would want to buy a product that is being serviced by people who are not competent, people who are not even credible, they are not reliable, they don't even respond, to your needs. When you call, you need assistance, they are not even willing to come when you need them, and they are so bad at communication. There is no good communication to give you a better understanding in terms of what goes on. That is very central. And then you also look at the image, right? What image is already there? Image in terms of the symbol, for example, in terms of the media. What is the perception out there? You look at the atmosphere. Is it conducive or it's not? You look at the events that are actually surrounding the whole situation. We also then have to look at positioning methods. There are a number of positioning methods. The first one is that attribute positioning. What is attribute positioning? For example, Cell C positions themselves as a company that listens. So attribute positioning is you are positioning yourself, you're giving yourself the image that you are there to listen to your customers' needs. So Cell C are known for that. They say they are a company that listens. They are always doing things according to what the customers are demanding. The second one is benefit positioning. Now, when you look at benefit positioning, you are saying that the emphasis is on unique benefits, right? Unique benefits. You will find that when people talk about the, Apple products, they say that they give unique benefits, right? They give unique benefits. So the emphasis there is on what? It is on benefits. Take, for example, when you look at a Gillette, when you use a Gillette shaving machine, it promises to what? To even cut very close. It gives you a close shave. So when they sell the product, they emphasize the benefit that it shaves very close. Okay? And then the next one is that you use the use or application positioning. Use or application positioning. Now here, you are saying that you need to position yourself or itself in terms of product use or application possibility. How can the product be used, right? How can it be applied? How possible is it to apply it? So the central focus there is the use, how the product can be used, application, how it can be applied. The next one is that competitor positioning. You are putting yourself in a position against your competitor offering. Whatever your competitor is offering, you say you are actually offering something better. For example, you look at organizations like Audi, you look at BMW, you look at Mercedes-Benz. They position themselves against competitors, and they know that when they bring in features, their features are unique, they are different from their competitors, and they are then therefore able to stand and withstand the pressure on the market. You then look also at the product category positioning. For example, a museum traditionally regarded as as an educational institution may elect to position itself as a tourist attraction, meaning that they are no longer there, their role is no longer only to offer education, to people who want to learn about what happened a long time, the things that they keep, but they are also using it as a tourist attraction. People can go there to look, to see what is happening and learn something that is totally different. You also have to look at the quality stroke price positioning, where you are saying that the product may be claimed as of exceptional quality, right? That it is very of good quality. It is durable. It can withstand pressure. And then at the same time, it is also being sold at the very lowest price, right? At the very lowest price. For example, Edgar's, would always push that issue that their products are of high quality, right? Well, for example, Mr. Price does not concentrate on saying that their products are of high quality, but that their products, they are of unbeatable what? Price tag. They sell their products at a what? At a low price. Hence, the competition there is competition between quality and price. One organization offers high quality product, another organization actually pushes and catches the lower market segment by offering prices that are of a very low price. Okay, so that's where we end today. Thank you very much. I hope you managed to understand that. What we'll do is we'll go back and round up. So effectively what we did at the beginning, I gave you all the objectives that we are supposed to cover so that we understand. And we said that the objectives were supposed to center on market segmentation. We're supposed to understand the concept of market segmentation. We're also supposed to understand what market targeting is. And then lastly, we're supposed to understand market product positioning, to understand those terms. And we have gone on to explain and to highlight and discuss exactly how they can be used and the different concepts, the different stages that we find up to how we can use it, how we can segment the markets, how we can target them to come up with strategies that will suit each and every area. And then finally, to understand the product positioning, that product positioning, you are giving an image or a perception that is necessary for consumers to have a better understanding of your product. And then we also looked at the benefits, that what are the benefits that people look for within products. I hope you have enjoyed it, and when you go through it, it will be able to help you and give you a broader and bigger understanding.